Hello, how you doing? Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hi, my name is Keia Kodama. I am from Northern California. I have been in fashion for a good 20 years now, just navigating the things I like about the industry. Currently working on my own brands, and I would love to use your words and say that I'm marrying fashion and politics. So that's where I'm at now.
I mean, I love the fact that you said fashion and politics because that's what I'm about as well. And that's why we have connected online. And I'm really excited to have you on today, especially as we are celebrating International Women's Day. What does International Women's Day mean to you?
I think it's just growing a community of women that can share their passions from all over the world. We have such a collective and eclectic palette of between motherhood and creativity that I think individually we may not know that we're not alone. And so I like International Women's Day because it gives us a forefront to make us feel inclusive.
Yeah, that's incredible. Exactly that. It makes us come together, and it is inclusive. And I'm just going to go back to what it is that you do. And what was your reason for working with thrifting and creating reworking pieces?
I've been in retail for a good 15 years and worked in fast fashion for probably about 10 of those 15. And so just seeing what, fast fashion does for the environment and just working conditions for other countries, it was very important to me to take something that I've always done and love and make it so people understand the value in it and the importance of it, not only for our environment, but for like everybody involved. One thing that I really want to promote is shopping on a budget, so we can, especially since we're such a trend, we're into trends and trend setting, to shop on a budget so then we can manage our finances better and not invest so much in our appearance and be able to invest in our communities and businesses, ourselves, other things that are a little less, as I would love to say I'm not superficial, but I, on levels I am, but for us to kind of do more self-care instead of self-indulgence.
I totally agree with you. I mean, we all have that indulgence in ourselves. And if you come from the fashion industry, it is difficult to live without fashion. And fashion is part of our everyday living. We need clothes. So it's just being responsible with that clothes. What is your most precious piece that you have in your wardrobe that you can't live without?
I think the style, not necessarily like I keep that one thing always, but the style that has to be in my closet always is a moto jacket.
All right.
I grew up in the 80s, so like Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, and watching MTV, Twisted Sister, all these rock bands, and they were always ripped jeans and biker jackets. And I just remember just thinking how badass they were. The Strokes and Ramones and stuff like that. Like, I just wanted to be, to me, they showed like this rebel and this stick it to the man attitude. Right. And that biker jacket was like an armor for them. And so that to this day is like my staple piece. I always have to renew it because I wear them out so much, but I try to keep them at least a good 5 years. And then I do a lot of faux leather now. If I do vintage leather, real leather, then I'll do leather, but usually it's faux leather.
Nice. I mean, it's amazing that you said you do vintage leather, and the fact that it already exists, so you're using what already has been produced rather than welcoming a new piece. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite jumpers that I thrifted, and I get so many people asking for it, and I'm like, nope, it's a one-off now. You're definitely not going to find it. And this is an 80s jumper as well, actually. So the 80s,
I love it.
great, great, great fashion. What has been your biggest achievement so far to date, professionally and personally?
I would say achievements, I don't always scale professionally, because everything I've done professionally has been from passion. And it was kind of like, it was just an achievement to just try it. I would say my ultimate biggest achievement was my daughter. My daughter is my best friend. And I know that's so cliche, but you don't know how your child's going to turn out. You know, it's a mystery. And for her to be this phenomenal young adult woman is amazing to me. And to know that we had something to do with it is so, like, I could literally die happy today just seeing how she turned out. So I would overall say I measure everything that I ever have done in life based on what kind of human being she became. And that's where I feel successful at.
So she's a really big influence in your decisions in your life, and
oh yes,
professional. Amazing.
Oh yes, every major decision, especially even with my career, has gone through her. Even when she was 6, 8, you know, it's kind of like, this is what mommy wants to do. What do you think? So she is my judge, jury, everything.
So she's basically your mother. Got it.
Oh yeah, yes.
So does she criticize or have opinions over how you dress?
No, she's actually very supportive. So I feel very blessed with that, to be honest. And I do run by, especially, you know, we have parent-teacher conferences and PTA meetings and back to school nights. So I'm like, okay, and I have a sleeve of tattoos. So I'm like, do you want me to dress a certain way? Do you know? And she's like, no, be you. Why would I want you to do that? The only thing she won't let me do till this day, and I'm getting too old now, so I can't do it. I feel like I'm too old to do it, but I've always wanted like a little tattoo, like on my face here. And she's like, nope.
For that.
So she was like, I have boundaries, don't cross that. But other than that, she's been 100% supportive of everything I do.
That's incredible. I mean, you did share with me how you got into thrifting, and I feel like you have such a great woman inspiration around you. You said your grandmother is who got you into thrifting.
Yes, my granny. She's my father's mother. And growing up, she would always frequent the Goodwills or thrift stores around town. And as I mentioned before, I didn't know that thrifting was usually a low income thing for the most part. That's how it was looked at back then in the 80s and 90s. And so I would go to school in thrifted clothes and not even think anything of it. But even then, I've always been able to find pieces that were modern and fit the current styles. So I don't think anyone really knew that they were thrifted clothes. But she is the one that taught me the value and the beauty in thrifting. And now that I'm older, it was never a transition. It's just something I've always done. So even working retail and working at these major, you know, retailers, I still always wore thrifted clothes. Like my little crew neck is thrifted. So yeah, I still went to work in these places where everyone else is wearing the clothes from the store, and I'm wearing, I would find their brands, I'll just find them thrifted.
But yeah. No, it is incredible that what you can find if you actually look. And I do agree with you. I mean, you say it's an 80s and 90s situation where thrifting is seen for a more lower income background. But I mean, we have this issue globally still, like in Africa and Asia and the Caribbean, it is still seen as it's for the lower income background rather than someone that's well off wouldn't wear a secondhand piece of clothing. I mean, how do you think that we will be able to shift? I mean, with sustainability being a hot topic at this moment, do you think that could influence, or I mean, how do you think we can kind of come to a solving of that situation or having that conversation?
Well, I think it comes in emotionally first and then political second. So when I say emotional, we are part of this construct of consumerism where everything new and shiny means some kind of social status or has a meaning of being part of an in crowd. And then political is, for me, is that also that popularity, because I always think that we are all politicians of our lives, if that makes any sense, because we're always politicking, and hopefully most of us are good politicians and are true to what we're trying to, you know, the content that we're promoting is good in value, but for the most part, not everyone's like that. And so if we can kill this construct of shiny, even in the sneaker community, I'm seeing a lot of vintage is getting more popular, even not necessarily vintage new styles or retro, but actually going and looking for secondhand vintage sneakers is becoming popular within California anyway. I don't know if it's globally, but
as well.
I think the shift is there because the social conscience and emotions to sustainability is getting there. It's just the generations like mine and probably from like 80s, 90s to early 2000s, they're kind of growing into it because they have to kind of break down emotionally, why do I need this new?
Yeah.
You know? And then it's also, it has to do with sacrifice too, because it is time. It is time consuming to thrift if that's not something you're into.
Yeah.
So it's getting there. To me, I think it's still it's a slow process, but it is something that is growing rapidly.
Yeah, I do agree. I think, yeah, you're right. It is the 80s, 1990s and 2000s is kind of unlearning certain things. And it is about your upbringing, and it's just culturally you're taught, you know, buy something new and shiny and that's what you wear. You don't wear someone else's clothing. But with the whole situation of us having so much productions happening at this moment, it's causing harm to the planet that we live in, which will probably disappear because of how we're treating it. So it is really important. And I feel like there's been like a whole online shift of community coming together. Even within the sneaker community, we were speaking earlier, the female sneaker community has managed to come together a lot more stronger now, and we're having these voices of please put us in these positions of power, allow us to have representation, and you know we're also collecting our old pieces. I'm like, well, I had this sneaker because right now I don't know how many wins you've had from the sneaker app. What?
We won't speak of this. No, I'm joking. No, I don't get lucky a lot at all. Work in retail, I built relationships with a lot of management and everything. So it's not necessarily a back door, but it's kind of like just, hey, my ticket's in. So sometimes I'll get lucky, but I still work like everybody else. And the sneakers app is definitely not friendly to anyone.
Definitely. While we're on this topic, what do you think is the problem with the whole sportswear industry for women in terms of, you know, certain sneakers not being available for women's sizes, like women that are smaller than size 6 in men's? So if you've got smaller feet, it's not really available for you at all, like Jordans, for instance.
You know, I grew up with the first stream of Jordans coming out. So my high school years are in the 90s. And I actually never thought about it as much because I think I was so conditioned to it that I was just used to it at some point, because even Hirachis, I remember wanting them so bad when I was in high school, but they didn't have my size available until mid 2000, 2010 ish. And so, go ahead.
I bought the kids' boys version of the Hirachis because they didn't have my size.
Right. It was very like, and then, with kid shoes, the styling is usually different too, because they cut certain things out. Yeah. It really hasn't been something I have fully thought about until this year, to be honest with you, because again, I was so conditioned to these circumstances because this was my available options from day one. Right. So now where I'm at is I would like to see more inclusive sizing, but what has happened now that I'm paying attention to it is the resellers are buying up our sizes as well, because they know that we have very limited, or we might not get them at, whatever it is to their advantage, to where they can hike up the price on us the highest.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of frustrating, because I went from not really paying attention because I'm so used to it, to now that I'm paying attention, this is the new version of conditioning I have to get used to. It's kind of like, where is the medium? I would love to see, if anything, I would just like to see more women creatives designing, in-housing, or collaborating. And I would like to see more women of color doing these things. And I think that it goes beyond popularity as well. Like, I don't feel like you should be someone that's necessarily established socially on social media, but established and seasoned maybe in your craft. Yeah. And that person also gets the opportunity to design and be at the forefront of their design, not in the back, kind of like, you being a stylist, and I've done styling for a long time, we're always in the back. Yeah. We're always the least known and the least recognized for our work, and we do the most work. So I would love to see, the details, the time.
Cases. Yep.
Oh yeah. So I would love to see if we have more women creators put into these positions at any level socially, as long as they're seasoned and well into their careers of what they want to do within fashion or art, be the forefront of their own sneaker design. I would love to see that, because we have been one of the biggest consumers for sneakers since I can remember. And then when we have children, our children inherit that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I said it in a post, I said that we brought value to the property, but we don't have ownership in the land. And I would love to see us get more ownership.
That is perfectly said. Exactly that. It's, women of color specifically are the biggest influencers, yet they're not represented within these corporations at all. And especially on those higher positions, CEOs or directors or creative directors, you see it's always, it's always a white woman, or even then that there's a minority of women overall, or you've got just loads of men within the industry. And it's like, there's a lot of gatekeeping of men just keeping that space as well. It is very frustrating, and I think these brands, if they really understand what would be great for them to actually grow and integrate and become inclusive, they should actually approach these young creators, or even just women within the industry, like you said, who don't have crazy followers, but they're crazy talented, because some of us grew up before the whole social media takeoff. We're catching up with social media. We were doing the time of the work. We weren't posting about it. So yes, I think that's where people forget that representation of what has been placed. I remember hearing people, oh, how did you get this brand collab? Or how did you do this? How did you do that? And I was like, because I put 10 years of work before social media was present. I didn't share about it because I didn't know that I was even allowed to, because when I'm on set, we never used to take pictures because it was confidential. You know, you didn't want to ruin that professional environment as well. Whereas now, you know, you take pictures constantly of everything that you do, when you eat, when you wake up. So there's a huge shift, and definitely there is a community of women, I feel, that are not acknowledged enough. So that's why I wanted to have a conversation with you, and we'll bring it back to you now. What has the pandemic been for you and your creation? Has it elevated you, or has it, you know, affected you?
It definitely elevated everything that I was doing already. I, again, have been, I heard someone say this, and now that's like my favorite thing to say. I'm a habitual creator. So I'm always dabbing into something that comes to mind just to see if I can do it and hopefully execute it correctly. That's always the goal. But I think with the pandemic, what happened for me that was elevated was being able to have enough people been seated to actually pay attention and support something that I've always been passionate about, always wanted to do, always wanted, you know, if it was political or just creatively, just my point of view was being received. And that means a lot to me, because even though people were seated, they still didn't have to pay attention. And the fact that I was able to take advantage of both, not only are they grounded, but they are paying attention, and was able to build in a lateral way that was organic to myself and not just for likes or for popularity, you know. That was an elevation, a step up that I was always looking for within creating.
I love that. I love the fact that we seem to balance each other in terms of, like you said, I like to dabble into different creativity and push my creativity when I have the opportunity to do so. And yeah, I think the pandemic has, I think, allowed a lot of creative people to get more creative, because we're kind of used to that environment of the unknown. And I think it's allowed other people to respect the creative industry a bit more, because they're now, everyone's a freelancer in a sense of working from home, even if you do a 9 to 5. So we're going to play a game, and it's going to be like quick questions, and you're just going to give me the quickest answer that the first thought you can think of. Ready?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's do this.
All right. What's your favorite color?
Black.
Your favorite food?
Chinese food. All Chinese food.
Animal that represents you?
I would have to say I found out that my Chinese New Year is the goat, so I'm going to go with goat.
Damn, you a goat?
Yeah, I was like, what? So I was happy with that. So I was like, yeah, I think I'm stubborn a little bit. It works.
I'm a dragon. Okay, really failing this game right now. Currently your favorite song that you can't stop playing?
Ooh, Jay-Z, Blueprint, Never Change.
Never Change. All right. Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie.
Nike or Adidas?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Oprah Winfrey or Michelle Obama?
Ooh, Jesus. Michelle Obama.
What's your favorite sneaker?
Jordan 4.
One item.
Bread. Jordan 4 bread.
Oh, all right. What one item in your wardrobe that you can't live without?
Moto jacket.
A female role model of yours?
I would have to say my mom.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was I should have done that game quicker, but
I know, I'm sorry. I'm like, and then
I just realized me and you can just talk for ages and ages.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem here. So, it's a problem to have. So I'm going to ask you, what is next for you as a creative? Or do you have any big coming up right now?
I've been working on the Year of the Goat. Last year I did a lot of capsules where I did like I maxed out on a quantity of whatever it was I was putting out. This year I want to focus more on just having the open availability. And since I have so many ideas, kind of tap into those ideas more and not limit myself to just saying, okay, this shirt, this month, this month, this month. And with that open availability, always just add and not just stunt the growth of my creative process by not pushing those pieces out, I guess I should say. Because last year I was tiptoeing around a lot of things to see what I actually liked. And I didn't want to put a lot of things out because I'm so fickle with my creativity too. Like I try it once and I liked it and it's like, okay, I'm over it. So now that I know that these are things I'm really passionate about doing, is to make more open availability and actually put out a lot more of my creative process ideas and whatever comes to me.
What advice would you give your younger self from knowing what you know now?
I live by, I think it's Shakespeare. I hope it's Shakespeare. To thyself be true. Is that Shakespeare? Who is that? Yeah. Okay. My daughter's an English major. I should know these things. But I've always been pretty good at self-evaluating and knowing a good part of the base of who I am. And I would just tell my younger self, just stay true to that. Just be yourself. Don't worry about anything else. Just be exactly who you want to be.
What does it mean to be a woman to you? And specifically, it could be that being a Black woman in America.
I would say to be a woman, especially a Black woman, is to be strong and resilient. We take on so many roles that I don't, especially between motherhood, if you're a wife, a CEO, an entrepreneur, and the balance that we have to take on so many tasks and still be nurturing and kind and loving is amazing to me. So I think strong and resilient is like my two biggest word, like will be my only definition for a woman.
I do believe that when it comes to a woman or even a woman of color, or specifically being a woman of color, you tend to have the whole world on your shoulder and you're able to balance that relationship of taking care of your family as well as taking care of what you need to do. And it's effortless in the sense of you allow yourself to be that person of strength, and you're not waiting for someone else to take care of you, which I find incredible with the women around me and even yourself, like who I've met on socials, and I can see your energy definitely flow through. And exactly what you said about you were tiptoeing last year, but as you're so focused, I can see how focused your social presence is becoming as well, because of your focus, because of your alignment with yourself, which is amazing to see, by the way, as well. And I want to say
thank you
to you for that. I'm going to close this off with, how do we support you and where does everyone find you? And please tell me about all your businesses and just share, just do your pitch of presenting you to the whole world.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Keia, Keia, Kodama, Kodama. And I always say this, I am asked that question a lot about how to support me. And I always tell anyone, you supporting you and investing in you supports me. because you having that mindset to believe and invest in yourself gives you the attitude to see what I'm doing and not take it negatively or deflect. And so if I just want, if anything, for you to invest and support and love and self-love first, and then it will come back to me.
Oh my God. I'm like, I love you.
Well, thank you. Love you too. But no, honestly, I think that that's the way we should work. I think that's why so many people feel unsupported, is because the people that are around them aren't really into, like you said, in tune with themselves and knowing what they really want. And so it's hard for them to see the next person and what they're doing and be supportive. And so the first thing I would want anyone to do is to self-love and support and invest in yourself first.
I just love everything that you've just said. And it is exactly that. Like when you build, we spoke about how we've both evolved in having these support system online, of having these sneaker woman culture, or even just sneakerheads, or overall having a community of women to lean on online, and having these new friendships and being that support system without having an ulterior motive. It's beautiful to see, and exactly what you said, that is how a community grows. And the circular economy is definitely effective when everyone works together and builds themselves up. And I love everything that you said. I believe it's the same thing with me as well, is that watch us all as inspiration and motivation for each other. Not competition. No one's in competition with anyone but yourself. So yeah, I just love the fact that I've had the pleasure of seeing you being in line with yourself as well online. I know you already are offline, but yeah, I wish you were my mom. Well,
thank you.
I should actually say I wish I'd become a mother like you. So yeah, thank you so much. Seriously, it's been amazing to have you even speak with me here, and I look forward to the rest of your journey, because I will be there supporting you as well.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to do this. This is amazing. I love what you're doing. I feel extremely honored from day one. Your support is an honor to have someone like yourself having my back and understanding what I'm doing, and actually, I've been able to translate what I'm doing so well. So at least I find comfort in knowing what I'm doing is right.
No, you're definitely doing it right. Like I said to you, I'm not someone that usually gifts or anything like that unless I feel that someone has a genuine connection or represents the things that I believe. And most of my projects are very personal as well. Like the bag, is change maker, celebrating multiculturalism and change makers and being comfortable in our own skin. And I feel that, as a woman of color, we tend to have these stereotypes or these implications that are put on us. And it's not from us,
yes.
It's our surroundings that put these words into us and make us not love ourselves. And it's for us, and you're a mother, and we're in a space where we have a lot, like social media is open to all age groups. And if we don't represent ourselves in the most truest self with love as well, then these younger generations will continue to hate themselves and have these mental health issues, and especially women, girls. We're constantly being targeted by marketing campaigns from fashion, beauty, everything, lifestyle overall. So it's important for us to come together and be present and create these platforms of inspiration, and representation always matters. So thank you again.
Yes, I agree. And thank you.
I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.
So peace.